I'd been dreaming about that vacation for months. A rare week alone. No lesson plans, no kids climbing the walls. I'm Ryan, 37, a high school chemistry teacher who's more comfortable grading labs than playing social butterfly. My wife, Lauren, practically shoved me out the door, saying she'd hold down the fort. I figured she just wanted a break from my late-night ramblings about the periodic table. So I went, chasing a vintage chemistry set I'd tracked down in a coastal antique shop 3 states away. It was a beauty, glass vials, faded labels, the works. Driving back, I cut the trip short by a day, itching to show it off. Pulling into our driveway that Thursday afternoon, I felt a buzz of excitement. The house looked quiet, blinds half drawn. But then I saw it. Mike and Tara's beat-up sedan parked at an odd angle, like they'd rushed in. They're our friends, a married couple we've known since college. Lauren always said Mike's dry humor reminded her of me, and Tara's the type to bring homemade brownies to every potluck. Nice people. But something about that car nagged at me. I grabbed my bag, the chemistry set tucked under my arm, and headed inside. The front door creaked open, and I caught a whiff of something sharp. Wine. Maybe? Laughter spilled from the kitchen, light and carefree. I set my stuff down, expecting Lauren to call out a surprised, "You're back early," but she didn't. I rounded the corner and froze. There she was, pouring red wine into 3 glasses, her hair messy in a way that didn't say casual Thursday. Mike leaned against the counter, grinning, while Tara perched on a stool, twirling a strand of hair. They didn't see me at first. "Hey, honey," I said, forcing a smile. Lauren's head snapped up, eyes wide, and the room went dead quiet. Mike coughed into his fist, and Tara's glass clinked too hard against the counter. "Ryan, you're early," Lauren stammered, her voice a pitch too high. I nodded, still smiling, but my gut twisted. Something was off, way off, and I was about to find out what. Lauren recovered fast, brushing her hands on her jeans like she could wipe away the tension. "We were just catching up," she said. "Too bright, too quick." Mike nodded, muttering something about old times, while Tara avoided my eyes, sipping her wine like it was her job. I played along, dropping my bag by the table. "Cool. Didn't know we were hosting," I said, keeping my tone light. Inside, my brain was spinning. These weren't last-minute drop-ins. Mike's jacket hung on the chair like he owned the place, and Tara's shoes were kicked off by the door. I'd always trusted Lauren. 13 years married, 2 kids, a mortgage, we'd built something solid. Or so I thought. She'd been my rock when I switched careers from a dead-end lab gig to teaching, even when I spent weekends tweaking lesson plans instead of date nights. But standing there, watching her laugh a little too loud at Mike's dumb joke, I felt a crack in that foundation. "How was your trip?" she asked, steering the conversation. I mentioned the chemistry set, and Tara perked up, asking to see it. A distraction, maybe. I hauled it out, setting the wooden case on the table. The vials glinted under the kitchen light, and for round 8 a second, I relaxed, explaining how it was from the 50s, real craftsmanship. Mike smirked. "Still a nerd, huh?" I laughed it off, but then I caught it. Tara whispering something to Lauren, her hand brushing Lauren's arm. It wasn't casual. It was deliberate. My stomach dropped. "Need a refill?" I asked, nodding at their glasses. Lauren hesitated, then handed hers over. "Sure, why not?" she said, her smile tight. I took all 3, heading to the counter where the bottle sat. My hands moved on autopilot, pouring, but my mind raced. Were they just tipsy and flirty? Or was this something else? I glanced back. Mike's arm rested on the table, inches from Lauren's, and she didn't pull away. That's when I knew. This wasn't a friendly hangout. I set the glasses down, my pulse hammering. "Be right back," I said, heading for the garage. I needed air. And maybe something else, something to test just how far this was going. The garage door clicked shut behind me, muffling their voices. I stood there, hands clenched, surrounded by my organized chaos. Shelves of tools, a workbench, and that old mini fridge humming in the corner. Teaching chemistry pays the bills, but tinkering with old sets and compounds is my escape. Not that I'm some mad scientist, just a guy who likes the precision of it. Lauren used to tease me about it, calling it my nerd cave. Now, I wondered what else she'd been laughing about behind my back. I'd left for that trip feeling good. The shop owner in Maine had haggled me down to $80 for the set, and I'd spent 3 days wandering the coast, sipping coffee, picturing Lauren's face when I showed her. She'd been weird before I left, though, distracted, rushing me out with a peck on the cheek. "Have fun," she'd said, her eyes darting to her phone. I chalked it up to stress, our daughter's science fair, our son's soccer games. But now that memory stung. Had she been counting the minutes until I was gone? I leaned against the workbench, replaying the kitchen scene. Mike's easy grin, Tara's whispers, Lauren's fake surprise. They fit together too well. I wasn't paranoid. I'd seen the signs before, years ago, when a coworker got too cozy with Lauren at a school fundraiser. She'd shut it down, swore it was nothing. I believed her then. But this felt coordinated. The fridge hummed louder, snapping me out of it. I opened it, staring at the odds and ends inside. Soda, a jar of pickles, and a small vial I'd mixed last month. A lab prank gone wrong, confiscated from a student. Magnesium sulfate, Epsom salts, concentrated into a fast-acting laxative. Harmless, but brutal. I'd meant to toss it, but there it sat, glowing with possibility. I grabbed it, rolling it between my fingers. If they were messing with me, I could mess back. Just enough to see their real faces. A test. I slipped it into my pocket and headed inside, the vial cool against my leg. The kitchen was still buzzing when I stepped back in, but now I had a plan, and they had no idea what was coming. Back in the kitchen, the air felt thicker, like everyone was holding their breath. Lauren handed me a plate of cheese and crackers, her smile brittle. "Thought you'd be hungry," she said, avoiding my eyes. Mike cracked a joke about my trip. "Catch any fish or just dusty bottles?" And Tara giggled too loud. I forced a laugh, sliding into a chair. "Just the bottles," I said, setting my vintage set aside. They were acting normal, but it was off, like a play where the actors forgot their lines. I munched a cracker, watching them sip their wine. Lauren's hand brushed Mike's as she passed the bottle, and he didn't flinch. Tara leaned closer to Lauren, murmuring something about last weekend. Last weekend? I'd been home, grading papers. My jaw tightened. "What did you all get up to while I was gone?" I asked, casual as I could manage. Lauren froze mid-pour. "Oh, just stuff," she said, waving it off. Mike jumped in. "Tara made chili. You missed out. Chili, right?" But the way Tara smirked, like she was in on a secret, told me there was more. I'd seen that look before, back when Lauren and I hosted game nights. Mike and Tara were always the loudest, but lately, they'd been over more often, lingering after others left. I thought it was friendship. Now I wasn't so sure. "Sounds fun," I said, reaching for the wine bottle. "Let me top you off." They handed me their glasses, oblivious. I poured, my hand steady, then slipped the vial from my pocket under the table. A quick tilt, a faint swirl. Magnesium sulfate dissolved clean into the red. I'd used it once in a lab demo. It's safe, just effective. "Cheers," I said, passing them back. They clinked glasses, grinning, and drank deep. I leaned back, pulse steady, waiting. 5 minutes ticked by. Tara shifted in her seat, her smile fading. Mike cleared his throat, looking uneasy. Lauren took another sip, oblivious, until her face twitched. "You okay?" I asked, all concern. She nodded, but her eyes darted to the hall. Then Tara stood abruptly, clutching her stomach. "I need a sec," she mumbled, bolting. Mike followed, pale. Lauren stared at me, confused. Showtime. The kitchen turned into a circus fast. Tara didn't make it halfway down the hall before she doubled over, groaning like she'd been hit by a truck. Mike stumbled after her, his face a mix of panic and something else. Shame, maybe? Lauren shot up, knocking her chair back, her wine glass wobbling on the table. "What's happening?" she snapped, glaring at me like I'd rigged the room to blow. I shrugged, playing dumb. "Bad chili," I offered, leaning against the counter. Inside, I was grinning. The magnesium sulfate was working faster than I'd expected. Tara's voice echoed from the bathroom. Sharp, desperate noises that didn't need explaining. Mike banged on the door, muttering something I couldn't catch, then bolted for the guest bath, clutching his gut. Lauren's cheeks flushed red, her hands trembling as she gripped the counter. "This isn't funny, Ryan," she said, but her voice cracked when her own stomach gurgled loud enough for me to hear. She froze, eyes wide, then sprinted for the stairs. I stayed put, sipping my untouched water, counting the seconds. It was chaos but controlled, my kind of chaos. I dosed them just enough to humiliate, not harm. Years of teaching had taught me precision. I wasn't about to botch this. But as the sounds escalated, groans, doors slamming, I wondered if I'd misjudged. Lauren staggered back downstairs, pale as a ghost, clutching her phone. "I'm calling 911, she croaked, fumbling the buttons. "Something's wrong." I didn't stop her. Let them think it was food poisoning or a fluke. The ambulance would come, they'd get checked, and I'd walk away clean. But then I saw it. Her phone screen lit up with a text from Mike, sent an hour ago. "He's still gone, right?" My chest tightened. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment thing. They'd planned it. Sirens wailed in the distance as Lauren sank onto a stool, head in her hands. Tara stumbled out, mascara streaked, and Mike trailed behind, avoiding my gaze. I stood there, calm as ever, watching the paramedics burst in. They loaded them up, asking questions I answered with vague nods. But that text burned in my mind. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. The paramedics hustled Lauren, Mike, and Tara out on stretchers, their faces a mix of misery and confusion. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed, playing the concerned husband while the ambulance lights flashed red across our quiet street. Neighbors peeked through curtains. Mrs. Henderson even shuffled out in her slippers, asking if everything was okay. "Just a stomach bug," I said, loud enough for her to hear. Inside, I was buzzing. The magnesium sulfate had hit harder than I'd planned, but it was perfect. Public humiliation, no evidence, no mess. Lauren shot me a look as they wheeled her past. Her eyes narrowed like she suspected something. I just waved, all innocent. "Feel better?" I called, and she turned away, clutching her stomach. The medics muttered about dehydration, maybe food poisoning, nothing they'd trace back to me. I'd been careful. The vial was already rinsed and tucked in the garage. But as the sirens faded, the adrenaline crashed, and I slumped against the wall. What had I just done? The house felt too big, too empty. I wandered to the kitchen, staring at the half-empty wine glasses, the cheese plate untouched. My prank had worked, better than expected. But that text from Mike gnawed at me. He's still gone, right? It wasn't just a fling. It was deliberate, premeditated. I grabbed Lauren's phone from the counter. She'd left it in the chaos, and scrolled. Nothing new, but that one message glowed like a neon sign. How long had this been going on? I sank into a chair, the weight of it settling in. 13 years with Lauren, movie nights, parent-teacher conferences, that time we danced in the rain at a busted picnic. Had it all been a lie? My hands shook as I set the phone down. The ambulance was just the start. They'd be back tomorrow, embarrassed but fine. I wasn't done, though. This wasn't about a bad night anymore. It was about betrayal, and I needed answers. The clock ticked past midnight when my phone buzzed. A hospital update. They were stable, getting fluids. Good. But then I noticed something on Lauren's screen. A missed call from Tara, time-stamped an hour before I got home. Game on. I didn't sleep. The hospital discharged them at dawn. Lauren texted me a curt, "I'm fine, staying at Tara's." And I just stared at it, letting the silence stretch. Stable. Huh? They'd be mortified, probably blaming last night's takeout. I smirked, picturing Mike's smug grin wiped clean in front of the paramedics. But that missed call from Tara kept circling back. An hour before I walked in, it meant they'd been scrambling, maybe warning each other I was due back. I needed more than a hunch. Lauren's phone sat there, a goldmine if I could crack it. She'd never been big on passwords, our anniversary 0613, got me in on the third try. The call log confirmed Tara's attempt, but the texts were juicier. A thread with Mike, buried under grocery lists, popped up. Last week was fun, he'd written 10 days ago, followed by a winking emoji. Lauren's reply, only if Ryan stays clueless. My stomach twisted. Last week, I'd been home, helping our son with fractions while she ran errands. I scrolled further, piecing it together. They'd met up at least 3 times while I graded papers or chaperoned field trips. Tara was in on it too. Group chats showed her egging them on, calling it our little secret. I leaned back, the chair creaking under me. This wasn't a slip-up. It was a system. My hands itched for that chemistry set, craving the control of a clean reaction. But this wasn't a lab, I couldn't just boil it down. The hospital call came then, a nurse with a chipper voice. Mr. Davis? Your wife's doing better, just dehydration. Probably something she ate. I thanked her, keeping it polite, but my mind raced. Dehydration was their out. Nobody test for magnesium sulfate unless I dumped a gallon in there. I hadn't. Still, Lauren's staying at Tara's line felt like a dodge. Was she avoiding me, or planning her next move? I paced the kitchen, the text thread glowing in my head. Clueless. That's what she thought of me. Fine. If they wanted to play, I'd up the stakes. I grabbed my laptop, digging for more bank statements, emails, anything. By morning, I'd have a map of her lies. And then, she'd see what happens when you underestimate a teacher. The laptop screen burned my eyes as I hunched over it, coffee cold beside me. Lauren's email was a mess, coupon spam, school newsletters, but I wasn't after small talk. I'd logged into our joint bank account first, expecting the usual. Groceries, bills, maybe a splurge on shoes. But then I saw it, a $200 withdrawal 2 weeks ago, cash, no receipt. Then another $150 last month. My pulse kicked up. We'd agreed to track big pulls like that. She hadn't said a word. I cross-checked dates with her texts. That $200? Same day as last week was fun. I remembered it. I'd been at a staff meeting, griping about budget cuts, while she was out grabbing coffee. Coffee doesn't cost $2. I dug deeper, pulling up her PayPal. Linked to our account, forgotten from a garage sale years back. There it was, transfers to Mike. $50 here, $75 there, labeled lunch or gift. Gift? For what? Flashback hit me hard 3 months ago. Lauren dragging me to Mike and Tara's barbecue. She'd worn that green dress I loved, flirted with everyone, while I flipped burgers and swapped stories about old vinyls with Tara's dad. Mike had clapped me on the shoulder, called me the best. I grinned like a fool. But now, those transfers painted a different picture. They'd been laughing at me, sipping beers I'd paid for with my overtime checks. I slammed the laptop shut, pacing the living room. The kids' toys littered the floor, Lila's dolls, Ethan's soccer ball, and it hit me. This wasn't just about us. She'd funneled our money, our life, into whatever this was. My hands shook as I reopened the screen, saving screenshots. Evidence. But then my phone buzzed. Lauren. Finally. We need to talk when I'm back. Cold, no apology. Talk? Oh, we'd talk. But first, I'd make sure she couldn't squirm out of this. I emailed a buddy from the science department, Dave, who'd moonlighted as a PI before teaching. Need a favor, I typed. Discreet. If Lauren thought she could stonewall me, she was wrong. I glanced at her phone again. Another text from Mike popped up. He knows. Her reply, not yet. Too late, sweetheart. I was already 3 steps ahead. Lauren rolled in around noon, hair pulled back, eyes puffy like she hadn't slept. I was at the kitchen table, laptop closed, sipping coffee like it was any other Saturday. She dropped her purse, avoiding my gaze. Rough night, she muttered, heading for the fridge. I nodded, letting her fill the silence. Yeah. Heard you all got hit hard. Glad you're okay. My voice stayed even, but inside, I was a live wire. That not yet text looped in my head. She thought she had time to spin this. She didn't. Mike and Tara are still a mess, she said, grabbing a water. Doctor said it was bad food. Weird, right? She glanced at me, testing. I shrugged. Guess you never know what'll turn on you. Her lips twitched, but she didn't push. Good. I wasn't ready to tip my hand. Not until Dave got back to me. I'd asked him to trace those cash pulls, see if Mike's accounts showed anything. Lauren sat across from me, sipping slow, like she was sizing me up. You're quiet, she said finally. Something wrong. The nerve. I leaned back, meeting her eyes. Just tired. Long drive back, then, last night. Takes a toll. She nodded, too quick, and changed the subject. Something about Ethan's soccer practice. I let her ramble, watching her fidget. She was good at this, the casual dodge, but I'd seen the cracks. Those transfers, that text, they weren't flukes. The doorbell broke the tension. Lauren flinched, then relaxed when I got up. It was a delivery guy, some package for the kids' school fundraiser. I signed, but as I turned back, I caught her texting under the table, thumbs flying. Who's that? I asked casual. She stiffened. Tara. Checking in. I'd synced her phone to my laptop last night. Dave's trick. It was Mike. I smiled, setting the box down. Tell her hi. She mumbled something, pocketing the phone, but the air shifted. She knew I wasn't buying it. I'm gonna shower, she said, bolting upstairs. Perfect. I grabbed my laptop, refreshing Dave's email. There it was. Found a trail. Call me. I stepped outside, dialing, my gut churning. Whatever he had, it was about to blow this wide open, and Lauren had no clue. Dave picked up on the second ring, his voice low like he was hiding from his own kids. Ryan, you sitting down? He asked. I leaned against the porch railing, the midday sun too bright for the storm brewing inside me. Just tell me, I said. He exhaled. Those PayPal transfers? They're the tip. Mike's got a Venmo linked to a burner email. Lauren's been sending him chunks through that too. Hundreds over 6 months. Looks like gifts, maybe hush money. My grip tightened on the phone. Hush money? For what? 6 months. I repeated, voice flat. Dave grunted. At least. Last one was $300. 2 days before your trip. Labeled drinks. You don't drink that much Pinot, man. He was right, I didn't. But Lauren did, with Mike and Tara, while I was grading labs or building Lila Science Fair volcano. I thanked Dave, hung up, and stared at the yard. 6 months. Half a year of lies, funded by our savings. Money for braces, summer camp, the mortgage. I went back inside, mind racing. Lauren was still upstairs, water running, probably thinking she dodged me. I reopened the laptop, pulling up the Venmo hits Dave had screenshotted. Dates lined up with her book club nights, her girls' trips. Then I saw it. A $100 transfer labeled hotel. Hotel? We hadn't stayed anywhere since our anniversary 2 years ago. My chest burned, but I kept it together. I needed more than screenshots, I needed her to crack. The doorbell rang again. I opened it, expecting another package, but 2 cops stood there, badges glinting. Mr. Davis? One asked, a wiry guy with a clipboard. Got a call about last night. Mind if we talk? My stomach dropped, but I nodded, stepping aside. Lauren's shower cut off upstairs. Perfect timing. Sure. Come in, I said, calm as glass. They sat, asking about the food poisoning. I spun it smooth, takeout gone bad, a fluke. They scribbled, seeming bored, until the wiry one squinted. Funny, your wife said it was the wine. Wine? She'd pointed at me. I smiled, shrugging. She was pretty out of it. Probably mixed it up. They nodded, but I saw the gears turning. Upstairs, the floor creaked. She was listening, and I was ready to flip the table. The cops didn't stay long. I kept my story tight. Spoiled takeout, a bad night, nothing more. The wiry one scribbled, nodded, and they left with a take care. I shut the door, exhaling, but the relief was short-lived. Lauren crept downstairs, towel around her neck, eyes darting like she'd heard every word. What did they want? She asked, too casual. I shrugged. Just checking in. Said you mentioned the wine. Her face twitched, caught, and she mumbled, I was delirious probably, right? delirious enough to point at me. I let it hang, watching her squirm. She grabbed her phone, pretending to check messages. But I'd already seen the Venmo trail. Hundreds siphoned to Mike. Hotel labels mocking me. 6 months of this, maybe longer. I trusted her with everything. Our kids, our budget, while she played me for a sucker. You feeling better? I asked, leaning against the counter. She nodded, avoiding my gaze. Yeah, just tired. Tired from lying, maybe. That night, I didn't sleep. I emailed Dave screenshots to my work account, then dug into our social circle. Lauren's Instagram was private, but Tara's wasn't. Photos of girls' nights with Mike tagged. Timestamps matching those transfers. I screenshotted it all, then texted a group chat, old college friends, neighbors, even her cousin Jen. Found something wild. I wrote, attaching a blurry shot of Lauren and Mike from Tara's feed. Captioned, book club, huh. No explanation, just enough to spark whispers. By morning, my phone lit up. Jen. What's this about? A neighbor. You okay, man? Lauren stormed in, face red, clutching her own buzzing phone. What did you do? She snapped. I sipped my coffee, calm. Just sharing a memory. She scrolled, paling as the replies rolled in. Shock, questions, subtle digs. Her perfect image, PDA mom, loyal wife, crumbled in real time. You're overreacting, she said, voice shaking. It's not what you think. I set my mug down, meeting her eyes. Then explain the money, Lauren. 6 months, hundreds to Mike. Explain that. She froze, mouth open, no words. For once, she had nothing. I walked past her, grabbing my keys. I'll be back, I said. She didn't stop me. But her phone kept buzzing, and I knew the damage was done. I drove to the school, needing air, but my phone wouldn't quit. Texts from friends, a voicemail from Jen begging me to call. Lauren's stunt with the cops had backfired. She tried to shift blame, but I'd flipped it. The group chat was a slow burn. Nobody outright accused her, just enough "what's going on?" to let her sweat. I parked, staring at the empty lot. Teaching chemistry taught me control, mix this, get that, but this was a reaction I couldn't stop. Back home, Lauren was waiting, arms crossed, eyes blazing. You're ruining us, she said, voice low. Us? I laughed, sharp. You started that 6 months ago. She flinched, then doubled down. I'm taking the kids to my mom's. We need space. My gut twisted, Ethan and Lila, caught in this mess. No, I said, stepping closer. You don't get to run. She glared, then grabbed her phone. I'll call a lawyer then. You'll regret this. A lawyer. Fine. I've been ready since Dave's email. Go ahead, I said, pulling out my laptop. But look at this first. I opened the Venmo screenshots, dates, amounts, that damning hotel label. Her face drained of color. Where'd you get that? She whispered. Doesn't matter. Explain it. She stammered, something about helping Mike out, but it unraveled fast. Helping him into a hotel? Pressed. She sank onto the couch, silent. That's when she pivoted. I want custody, she said, voice hard. You're unstable. Spiking whine. Spreading lies. My jaw dropped. Unstable? She was turning my prank into her weapon. Try it, I said, leaning in. But those transfers? They're not help. They're theft. Joint account, Lauren. My money too. Her eyes widened. She hadn't thought that far. I checked the law. State rules favored the breadwinner in fraud cases. Me. She stormed upstairs, slamming the bedroom door. I called Dave. She's lawyering up, I said. He whistled. Got more ammo. Mike's Venmo ties to a bar tab the night you left. Tara paid the rest. A trio then. I hung up, staring at the kids' photos on the wall. Custody was her last card, but I'd make sure it folded. She had no idea what was coming. The next week was a blur. Lawyers, tense silences, the kids asking why mommy was mad. Lauren moved to her mom's, taking Ethan and Lila, claiming stability. I let her, knowing the court date loomed. Dave's digging paid off, bar tabs, more Venmo hits. Even a receipt Tara emailed Lauren for a weekend getaway. I bundled it all, handed it to my attorney, Claire, a sharp woman who'd handled messier divorces than this. She's got no ground, Claire said, flipping through. This is embezzlement, plain and simple. Court day came fast. Lauren sat across the room, composed, her lawyer whispering in her ear. She'd spun a tale, me as the jealous nutcase, her as the victim. The judge, a gray-haired guy with zero patience, heard her out. He tampered with our food, she said, voice trembling. He's reckless. My stomach flipped. She'd guessed the wine trick, no proof, but enough to sting. Claire leaned over. Stick to the plan, she murmured. I took the stand, calm, laying out the financial trail. She took thousands from our joint account, I said, sliding the printouts forward. Not for the kids, for her friends. The judge skimmed, frowning. Lauren's lawyer jumped up. Speculation. No evidence of intent. Claire stood, slow and deliberate. Then explain this, she said, handing over Tara's receipt. $400. A bed and breakfast, 2 nights, Lauren's name on it. The room went quiet. Lauren cracked. It wasn't like that, she shouted, standing. I just needed a break. Mike was a friend. The judge raised an eyebrow. A break with my money? I cut in, voice steady. She glared, then sank back, tears welling. You don't get it, she said, softer. I never wanted this. The kids, the house, you. The courtroom froze. Her lawyer hissed at her to stop, but she kept going. I was done years ago. The judge didn't blink. Custody to Mr. Davis, he ruled, banging the gavel. Mrs. Davis retains visitation, pending financial review. She sobbed, loud and raw, as I stood there, numb. She'd lost everything because she'd never cared. I walked out, Claire clapping my shoulder, but her words echoed. Done years ago. Then why'd she stay? That question wouldn't let go. The kids came home that night. Ethan quiet, Lila clinging to my leg. I set them up with pizza and a movie, trying to act normal, but Lauren's courtroom meltdown replayed in my head. I never wanted this. Not the affair, she meant us. 13 years, 2 kids, and she'd been checked out, faking it. I sat on the couch, staring at the TV flicker, wondering how I'd missed it. Had I been that blind, grading papers while she plotted her exit? Next day, I cleaned house. Her clothes still hung in the closet, a ghost of routine. I boxed them, methodical, like prepping a lab. My old chemistry set sat on the shelf, a reminder of simpler days. I'd picked it up years ago, back when Lauren laughed at my quirks instead of mocking them to Mike. Now it was just me and the kids, and a savings account I'd have to rebuild. Claire said we'd recover most of it. Lauren's theft claim was solid. Didn't feel like a win, though. Her voicemail started that week. Tearful, rambling. I'm sorry, Ryan. I messed up. I didn't reply. Jen called too, saying Lauren was crashing at her place. A wreck. Friends gone. Reputation torched. She's lost it, Jen said. Keeps crying about the kids. I snorted. She'd admitted she didn't want them. This was guilt, not love. I kept the group chat fallout quiet, but it had done its job. Nobody invited her to book club anymore. Ethan asked about her one night, kicking his soccer ball against the wall. Is Mom coming back? I knelt, ruffling his hair. She'll visit soon, bud. We're good here. He nodded, but his eyes said he didn't buy it. Lila just drew pictures. Stick figures of us 3, no Lauren. Kids see through lies better than we do. I spun a vinyl that night. Some old jazz track, letting the horn wail fill the silence. By week's end, I felt steady. Custody was mine, the house too. Lauren's life? Shattered, her own fault. But as I locked up, a car slowed past. Mike's sedan, tinted windows. It didn't stop, just cruised by. My pulse spiked. Was he watching? I brushed it off, but the unease lingered. This wasn't over, not yet. Months passed, and routine settled in. Ethan's soccer games, Lila's art projects. I built a life around them, one day at a time. The house felt ours now. I'd repainted the kitchen, ditched Lauren's floral curtains for something plain. Her visits were sporadic, supervised. Her eyes hollow when she hugged the kids goodbye. She'd call sometimes, slurring apologies, but I kept it short. Claire finalized the financial split. Most of the money back, her debt to me on paper. Justice? Sure. But it didn't erase the hole she'd left. Nights were mine again. I'd tinker with that chemistry set, mixing nothing fancy, just playing with ratios like old times. The kids loved it. Lila begged for magic potions. Ethan asked about explosions. No explosions, I'd say, grinning. Just science. It was my reset. A thread to who I'd been before Lauren's lies unraveled us. But her words from court? I was done years ago. Stuck like a splinter. Why'd she stay then? Money? Comfort? I'd never know. One night, Jez humming through the speakers, I heard a knock, sharp, late. I tensed, peering through the blinds. Nobody, just a shadow shifting down the street. Mike's car flashed in my mind, that slow cruise by weeks ago. I'd ignored it, figured he'd moved on. But now, I checked the locks, adrenaline prickling. Next morning, my phone pinged. A text from Tara, out of nowhere. You're not as clever as you think, it read. No context, just that. Tara. She'd faded after the hospital, quit posting, dodged the fallout. Had she figured the wine trick? Or was this about Mike? I didn't reply, but it gnawed at me. Lauren's last call came that afternoon, voice raw. I lost everything, Ryan. You happy now? I paused, then said, You lost it yourself. She hung up, sobbing, and I stared at the phone. She had friends, kids, me, all gone, her own design. I spun the vinyl again that night, kids asleep upstairs. Tara's text glowed in my mind. A loose end I couldn't tie off. Mike's car, her warning, was something brewing? I'd won? Sure. But the quiet felt fragile, like a calm before a reaction I couldn't predict. For now, though, I'd take it one day at a time.